Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. My name is Natalia Moczulska and this is the news. It is the 34th day of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The Ukrainian counter-offensive activities carried out near Kiev are bringing the first results. The now famous suburban town of Irpin has been fully recaptured. The road to Chernihiv was also unblocked, in which the Ukrainian Armored Brigade has been fighting a heroic battle for almost a month. This is where the Russians suffer the most severe losses. The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, thanked his soldiers for further successes on the front around Kiev. We have good news. Our defenders are moving forward in the Kiev region, regaining control of Ukrainian territory. Irpin was liberated. I am grateful to everyone involved in the fight. The occupiers are driven out of Irpin. They have moved away from Kiev. However, it is too early to talk about a safe situation in this part of our region. The fighting continues. The capital of this country is one of the main targets of the Russian invasion. At the beginning of the campaign, the Russians tried to surround the city, but in the end, they only managed to direct the attack from two directions. After several days, the defenders launched effective counterattacks. After Irpin, the next cities are to be Bucha, Hostomel, and Worzel. The Ukrainians are well fortified in the area of the MO6 motorway, based on the villages of Wysne, Kapitanivka, and Dmitrivka. The mayor of Irpin appealed to the residents not to come back yet, because there may be still Russian sabotage groups there. There may still be some remnants of the Russians there. Such a cleanup operation is underway now. Maybe in a few days they will be able to return to their homes, or what's left of them. Zelensky said that further delay in introducing tough and full sanctions could lead to the use of chemical weapons by Russia. A full-scale war has begun. Now there are many hints and warnings that sanctions will be tightened, such as the embargo on Russian oil supplies to Europe if Russia uses chemical weapons. There are just no words. Just think what it all comes down to. While waiting for chemical weapons, we, living people, must wait. Doesn't everything the Russian military does and has done already make them not deserve an oil embargo? Don't the phosphorus bombs make them deserve it? Until recently, Russia threatened the West with nuclear weapons in response to sanctions. Now, they soften their message a bit.
Any outcome of the operation, of course, is not a reason for usage of a nuclear weapon. We have a security concept that very clear of our country. Let's keep all this, let's keep these two things separate. I mean, existence of the state and special military operation in Ukraine. They have nothing to do with each other.
In eastern Ukraine, fighting is taking place in the Donetsk, Luhansk, and Kharkiv regions, as well as in the region's capital, Kharkiv, on its northern and eastern outskirts. In Donbass, the Ukrainians were to repel 7 enemy attacks during the last 24 hours. Ukrainian forces also remain in the vicinity of Mariupol. In their opinion, even 3 tactical battalion groups are missing to break the Russian ring around the city. According to the Ukrainian General Staff, Russian losses amount to over 17,000 killed soldiers, almost 600 tanks, 127 aircraft, and over 1,700 armored vehicles. The clay colossus, it crumbled. Today they are wondering how to put it all together and how to show the world that we are still a power and we can still have an advantage. And here, unfortunately, it is too late for Russia. The collapse of the Russian offensive is compensated by the increase in bombing raids and airstrikes against not only strategic but also civilian targets. Yesterday, almost 1,100 people were evacuated from Mariupol and the Luhansk region. The prosecutor's office in Kiev reported that 143 children had been killed in Ukraine and that 216 have been wounded since the beginning of the war. Ukrainian-Russian peace negotiations in Istanbul concluded with a project of compromise. The Ukrainian side will stay away from NATO, but wants a new system of security guarantees, which would include Poland. Russia will not object to EU membership for Ukraine. As a goodwill sign, the Kremlin promised to reduce military activity in Kiev and Chernihiv. There needs to be full peace across Ukraine for any final agreement with Russia to come into force, said David Arkamia, the head of the Ukrainian delegation. He wants all Russian troops to retreat from Ukraine and return the 3.5 million refugees who fled the war. He added that there was enough material in Ukraine's proposals to warrant a meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Regarding the question of Crimea, this is a separate point of the agreement in which we propose to fix the position of Ukraine and Russia. For the next 15 years, we propose to hold bilateral negotiations regarding the status of Crimea and Sevastopol separately. In other separate point, we propose that Russia and Ukraine will not employ armed or military forces to solve the question of Crimea during the time of negotiations. The implementation of this agreement about security guarantees will follow a certain procedure. Firstly, a referendum for all Ukrainian citizens to give their position on this agreement and how it should be implemented. After that, there will be a ratification by the parliaments of the guarantor countries and the Ukrainian parliament. This is crucial. Therefore, we must have the support of the society before we can consolidate this agreement. Regarding the temporarily occupied territories of Donetsk and Luhansk regions, those issues are brought to another separate point, which will be discussed between the presidents of Ukraine and the Russian Federation. Our proposition has not been accepted by Russia yet. We are just handing it over to the Russian side today. We say, this is our position. We give you our official position, and then we will wait for their answer. We think that we have worked through enough material so that a meeting between the presidents of Ukraine and the Russian Federation can be made possible. We have sent the proposal regarding the presidential meeting to the Russian side and are waiting for their answer. The position of Ukraine doesn't change. We recognize the international borders of Ukraine as of 1991. There are no compromises or red lines here. We only sign a deal that includes such a statement. Russia can, of course, have its own version of this, as they've recognized Crimea as part of Russia. That's their right to speak about it like this, to fix their position like this. But the Ukraine position is clear and stable. It's not under any discussion whatsoever. Presidential advisor and member of the Ukrainian delegation, Mikhailo Podolyak, said Turkey, Germany, and Poland could be among Ukraine's security guarantors. Turkey, Germany, Poland, and the agreement will be open for other countries to join. The crucial point is the possibility to receive security guarantees from the guarantors to stop the current conflict, the war. Ukrainian negotiators said they had proposed at the latest round of talks with Russia that Ukraine adopt neutral status in exchange for security guarantees, meaning Kyiv would not join military alliances or host military bases. Podolyak added that Ukraine would have to hold a referendum before any peace treaty with Russia is agreed. Russia promised to scale back military activity around Ukraine's capital Kyiv and the northern city of Chernihiv. Deputy Defense Minister Alexander Fomin presented the move as a goodwill gesture. Due to the fact that the talks about the treaty on neutrality and nuclear-free status of Ukraine and on providing security guarantees for Ukraine are moving to a practical phase and taking into account all the principles discussed today, Russian Defense Ministry, in order to increase mutual trust and create the necessary conditions for further negotiations and achieving the ultimate goal of agreeing and signing the above-mentioned treaty, made a decision to radically, by a large margin, reduce military activity in the Kyiv and Chernihiv directions. We proceed with the understanding that relevant essential decisions will be made in Kyiv and that proper conditions will be created for further work. He did not refer to the eastern and southern parts of Ukraine, where Russian forces are also conducting major offensives, but have struggled to make headway. Russia's chief negotiator, Vladimir Medinsky, said that proposals will be reviewed by Vladimir Putin. According to immigration services, the number of refugees who cross into Poland from Ukraine is falling every day. Yet over 2.3 million Ukrainians found shelter within the borders. Among them, 140,000 children and adolescents who will attend Polish schools. Moreover, refugees are eligible for the Family 500 Plus program that provides 500 Polish zloty each month to each child under 18 years old and other benefits. More than 2.3 million Ukrainians have fled to Poland since the beginning of the war. Today alone, the border guards have received another 7,000 people. In Kramatorsk, the war was the beginning. When we were packing, we heard a huge explosion. But then I found out that it was our army that shot down a missile. We sat in the basement for an hour and a half, and the alarm was going off the whole time. We went back upstairs, put the children to bed, and then the alarm sounded again. It was terrible. It was hard for us. We took the cat on the road, but it did not survive the stress. We drove 4 days from Kiev. There was a lot of traffic. Once we slept in the hotel, there was only space in the gym. They let us sleep there because of the baby. Desperate mothers with children look for a sense of security in Poland. The Polish education system has already registered 140,000 students from Ukraine. A special law opens the possibility of working in schools for Ukrainian teachers. Even if they don't know Polish, they can become multicultural assistants and help Ukrainian children. The act explicitly states that a statement is sufficient. We do not require a certificate of knowledge of the Polish language. We do not require any certificates or documentation confirming the completion of pedagogical studies in Ukraine. I told them it might just be impossible. Since February 24th, PKP Intercity has been carrying refugees from Ukraine for free. Special trains run from Przemyśl, Warsaw, Kraków, and Katowice. Ukrainians can use them to get to Berlin and Munich. We adjust the number of trains and carriages to the number of people willing to travel. We extend some of the trains because such are the needs. We have also changed the categories of trains so that they are free for passengers from Ukraine. The law on aid to Ukrainian citizens opens the possibility of 500+ benefit, a PESEL number, an account in a Polish bank, and a Polish phone number are required. This weekend, the social insurance institution ZUS is organizing a special campaign weekend for Ukraine. On Saturday and Sunday in various places in Poland, ZUS offices are open to Ukrainian citizens who want to apply for 500+. A special point also operates at the National Stadium in Warsaw. President Andrzej Duda met with refugees, volunteers, and management in the Caritas Center of Kraków Diocese. The president reminded of the need to help Ukrainian citizens, including those who came to Poland through other countries. The government has adopted a draft law on special solutions for counteracting support for aggression in Ukraine. The Council of Ministers wants to ban, by law, coal imports from Russia and also freeze Russian assets on Polish territory. Government official Miller reported. The Council of Ministers has decided to adopt another package of measures to allow the freezing of funds in Poland. We will block the assets of entities that contribute to supporting aggression against Ukraine. In this way, we will be able to take actions that freeze various types of funds, including cash, checks, remittances, deposits, all such funds that can be used to support the actions of the Russian Federation. It will also be possible to freeze economic assets. This will apply to both tangible and intangible, movable and immovable assets that can support military activity of the Russian Federation. That means we are enlarging law to adopt such measures. Thank you for joining us this evening. Please stay tuned for Poland weather, Poland business, and other programs. But from me, have a great night.